If you're here, you probably believe that movies don't just entertain. They shape the way we feel, imagine, and even survive the world. And if a single film has ever changed you, then you already understand Guillermo del Toro better than most. Because the truth about great directors is simple and rarely discussed. Their worlds aren't born fully formed. They're built, piece by piece, from the movies that once haunted them. And today, we're going straight to that source. The films where del Toro learned everything, and the films that shaped his monsters, his sense of beauty, and his belief that cinema must always bleed with empathy. Every 10 years, the British Film Institute's Sight and Sound poll asks filmmakers around the world to name the 10 greatest films of all time, a tradition running since 1952. And in 2022, Guillermo del Toro submitted a list that feels less like a ranking and more like a self-portrait. Once you see these movies the way he sees them, you won't experience his films the same way again. Del Toro has said many times that cinema is an act of compassion, and that belief begins with one film. Before the Faun, before the Pale Man, before the amphibian god of The Shape of Water, there was Blind Flower Girl and a Tramp. City Lights isn't just on del Toro's list, it's in his bloodstream. Chaplin's Tramp is the prototype for every tender creature del Toro ever created. Abe Sapien in Hellboy, Jesus Christ in Kronos, the amphibian god in The Shape of Water, beings misunderstood by their world, yet capable of more love than the humans around them. And when the Tramp sacrifices everything for someone who may never even recognize him, you can feel del Toro learning the core truth that guides all his work. Monsters are the ones we failed to understand. Villains are the ones who choose not to understand. That's the emotional logic of The Shape of Water, a love story where the so-called monster is the only character capable of pure empathy. Understand City Lights, and you understand the emotional spine of del Toro's cinema. But if City Lights shaped del Toro's heart, another film shaped his eye, and it comes from a director most people consider cold and distant. Barry Lyndon might seem like an odd pick, Kubrick's precise, icy epic, but what del Toro sees isn't coldness, it's craft. The belief that every frame must carry weight and intention. That ideal becomes the golden glow of Kronos, the Baroque Gothic of Crimson Peak, and even the painterly elegance of Blade 2, a film he shoots like a Renaissance nightmare in motion. But Kubrick only shaped the craft. Another film shaped del Toro's belief in fantasy as survival, and this one comes from Spain, decades earlier. Luis Buñuel's Nazarin seems like an unexpected choice, but it's one of the keys to del Toro's worldview. Buñuel's priest is a man of conviction crushed by the world's indifference, a holy figure punished for trying to do good. Sound familiar? It's the seed of del Toro's suffering innocent archetype, the child in Pan's Labyrinth, Stankovic in The Devil's Backbone, even the creature in The Shape of Water. But if Nazarin gave del Toro his sense of spiritual tragedy, another film taught him how to bend reality without breaking emotion. Fellini's 8.5 is where del Toro learns a crucial lesson. Fantasy is not escape, it's revelation. Fellini blurs memory, dream, guilt, and desire, creating visions that feel more true than the real world. Del Toro inherits that instinct completely. It becomes the dream logic of Pan's Labyrinth, the ghostly memories of The Devil's Backbone, and the theatrical, psychological architecture of Nightmare Alley. But Fellini wasn't the only one teaching del Toro how to play with dream and dread. Another master gave him something sharper: precision. Shadow of a Doubt is Hitchcock's at his most morally unsettling. Del Toro has said it's one of Hitchcock's purest films, a suburb infected with evil hiding in plain sight. This is the tension that runs through so much of del Toro's work. The idea that horror isn't in the monster, it's in the ordinary world failing to recognize danger. Think of Strickland in The Shape of Water. Think of the stepfather in Pan's Labyrinth. Think of the abuse of power in Nightmare Alley. But del Toro's cinephilia isn't focused only on dread. There's also wonder. And that leads us to the most childlike film on his list, Spielberg's Close Encounters gives Del Toro something essential: the belief that encountering the unknown can make you more human than less. The lights, the silhouettes, the music as communication, the idea that fear and awe can coexist. This sensibility becomes the childlike sincerity of Hellboy, the cosmic tenderness of the amphibian god, and Del Toro's lifelong refusal to treat the fantastical as a joke. But the list gets darker, because one film teaches Del Toro that violence has consequences that miracles cannot erase. The Coen's No Country for Old Men gives Del Toro a worldview he rarely expresses, but you can feel it beneath his stories. Fate is real. Violence is not spectacle, it's consequence. This becomes the brutal logic of Pan's Labyrinth, the moral weight crushing the devil's backbone, and even the noir despair of Nightmare Alley. But Del Toro's list doesn't end in despair. One film in particular shaped his understanding of doomed beauty, and it's a title cinephiles worship. Wells's The Magnificent Ambersons is Del Toro's lesson in regret. A film where beauty decays, families crumble, and fate feels written in the walls. From Wells, Del Toro absorbs the idea that tragedy can be operatic. This becomes the grandeur of Crimson Peak, the haunted nostalgia of The Devil's Backbone, and the Baroque melancholy found across his work. Del Toro admires Scorsese's ability to turn velocity into emotion. Every cut, every camera movement, every music cue is a heartbeat. While his own style is very different, Del Toro learned from Goodfellas that momentum can be a form of storytelling. You feel the characters rise and fall not just through plot, but through rhythm. It's a lesson that pulses through Blade 2, one of his most kinetically confident films. But there's still one title left, a film that shaped Del Toro's lifelong love for sympathy for the monster. The inclusion of Frankenstein, 1931, feels inevitable, almost autobiographical. James Whale's film is more than a classic horror story. It's a tragedy about creation, abandonment, and the longing to be seen. For Guillermo del Toro, this story is not just an influence, it's a lifelong obsession. Across Kronos, The Devil's Backbone, Pan's Labyrinth, and The Shape of Water, del Toro returns to the same primal wound, the creature misunderstood by its maker, the soul rejected by the world. In many ways, his entire filmography could be read as a series of love letters to Wells's monster, the poetry of the outcast elevated to art. Now, after decades of dreaming it, del Toro has made his own Frankenstein, not as imitation, but as revelation. If Welles' version defined the monster for the 20th century, del Toro's seeks to rediscover its soul for the 21st. Where Welles gave us horror born from hubris, del Toro gives us empathy born from pain. As he once said, monsters are the patron saints of our imperfections. His cinema proves that to love the monster is to understand the human. And with that, the map is complete, and so we return to the idea that began our journey. Del Toro is not made of monsters. He is made of movies about monsters. Movies that treat them as mirrors, not threats. His Sight and Sound list isn't a ranking. It's Del Toro's artistic DNA. Once you follow the path they create, you begin to see his work differently. The tenderness of Chaplin, the empathy of Welles, the awe of Spielberg, the fatalism of the Coens, the precision of Kubrick, the delirium of Fellini, the doubt of Hitchcock, the ache of Welles, the moral rigor of Buñuel, and the pulse of Scorsese. Together, they revealed the truth. Del Toro isn't just shaped by movies, he is built from them. If you enjoyed uncovering Guillermo del Toro's cinematic influence, consider this just the beginning. This is the first episode in our Directors Lists series, where we uncover the films that shaped the greatest filmmakers in cinema history. So if you want to see how other masters were forged, from the movies that stunned them to the ones they stole from, subscribe and stay tuned. The next episode might just change the way you watch their work forever.